Okay, y'all, I did promise that I would do a bikini candlelight tales in celebration of my 600th follower, and I'd like to thank my 600th follower. Welcome to the blog. It's a little weird around here. You just never quite know how I'm going to present things. One day I'm a smarty pants, and the next day I'm a smart ass. So stick with me. I promise it's worth the ride. Tonight's candlelight tale is about a camping trip, which I think is appropriate for the bikini top since the camping trip was at a lake. I went to a lake in August one time when I was a kid. I was probably about 12 or 13. And all I could think about was, all the boys on the lakes, all the boats, all the lifeguards, all the cuteness. We got there and everybody decided, hey, we're going to go camping up in the woods, not with the other regular population along the lake. So I'm thinking, okay, but I'm not going to pick up any boys here. So we go hiking way up into the woods, up into the hillsides. It's getting thicker and thicker. There's absolutely nobody up there, no one camping up in that area, and it's quiet as can be. We find a clearing and we put the tent up, this big tent. And we proceed to make some supper and get into the tent, get ready, and go to bed. Everything's fine. But I wake up during the night, or early morning, somewhere around there. I don't know if it was because of the moonlight coming through the nylon tent or what, but I saw what looked like a man or a small man or a tall boy in like a gray shirt and pants go right through the tent. He was leaving the tent, but not through the opening. So I'm thinking, okay, just, I'm disoriented. It's one of those weird, dream things. Okay, so brush it off. Go to the lake, spend the day there, boating, swimming, diving, trying to get boys' attention as I suntan. So we go back to the camp later in the day, and I'm going to meet everybody there, and I'm hiking through the woods. Not a soul in sight, of course, because nobody's stupid enough to camp out there where all the ticks are. So I go up into the hills, and I'm going through the woods, and I keep hearing giggling. And I think, well, maybe it's the lake in the distance or something, and I listen and listen. I can't hear it, and I just kept going and going, and when I got close to the camp, I heard giggling one more time, and I looked around, and I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear anybody anywhere. So I just figure maybe sound is carrying or something. Go to bed that night. I wake up and it's probably early sunrise because it's fairly light. And I see this figure turn as if it had been facing me and go through the wall again, right out the side of the tent, headed down the hill. And so the next morning I've had about enough. This doesn't ever happen twice with dreams. So I go down the hill. And I start poking around, and we're in a clearing, and the only thing in the clearing is a little island of bushes and brambles and trees. And so I start pushing my way through there, and I trip. And it hurts like hell because my shin is bleeding. It's a real mess. And I'm cursing and screaming, and I look to see what caused it, and it was a headstone. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. There's a headstone here, and it's completely covered in debris. There's nobody visiting this. Absolutely not. I wonder if it's just the only one. So I start poking around, pushing back bushes and kicking down the tall grasses, and I find like 6 or 7 more of them. All of them have the same last name. So I figure, okay, some family's buried here, and nobody remembers that they were buried there. Then I look down the hill, and I see like the frame of a house. It's like a brick house. And I realize somebody must have lived there at some point, and they died, and they were all buried here together. The graves were about 40 years old. So I decide what I'm going to do is figure out if I can figure who I saw going through the tent. And I go through the graves, and it's like all women and one old man, and then one boy who's like 13. So I figure it's a 13-year-old boy. It's got to be. So I push back all the bushes, and I clean off his grave, and I expose it, and then I go and I pick some wildflowers, some Queen Anne's lace and some dandelions and stuff, and I lay it down on his grave. And I say his name, and I tell him to be at peace, and I go back to the lake, and I go swimming. I enjoy myself that night. I go to bed. I think it's all over. And I wake up in the morning and nothing's happened, so I think, oh my God, it's okay, I'm clear. And I open up the zipper and I look outside, and all around the tent, scattered on the ground, are all the flowers that I had left on his grave. And I go down to his grave, and there's no flowers there. They were all spread outside the opening of the tent. So that is my really creepy, weird, abandoned cemetery. Someday I hope to go find it again because I think it's probably still forgotten.